It's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Acharei Mot-Kedoshim. It's all in how you do it. If we look at the Rambam in Hilchos Tzedakah, he says that giving charity is not the be-all and end-all of being a kind person. Being a person of that nature that we expect of every Jewish person. Namely, anybody gives a charity to the poor with a frown, then he says, then what? Even if he gave him 1,000 silver pieces, gold pieces, avad v'zechuso v'hefsida, you lose your merit altogether. How you do it is so important. Where do we get this idea that how you give charity is so important? Maybe it's the result that's important. Maybe the important thing is that you gave charity, that you enriched him, you gave him so much money. I think we see it from our parsha and from the very ways that Jewish charity is structured. Namely, we have leket shichampeah. How do you give charity to the poor? You give it to them in an unobtrusive way. You forgot a few grapes you're not supposed to take the little grapes on the vine. Let the poor people have it. You forgot a few sheaves you forgot a whole bundle in the field. You forgot a few pieces fell out when you were making the bundle. A few pieces fell down. Leave it for the poor people. You were reaping your field. I was learning around Sota. Memhe, you were reaping your field, and then the reapers forgot to reap in the corner there. So of course you have to leave a corner for the poor. That's a given. But you also, if you forgot to reap a little bit that was standing here and there, you can't take that either. So the leket shichampeah, these alms that we give, they're designed not to embarrass the person, make the person feel it's okay. You can't al tachlimua, as Boaz said to the farmers, don't give Ruth a hard time. If she's taking the gleanings, let her take it. Now, I don't know if that implied that other women, other people, the poor people who were taking gleanings were given a hard time. But certainly the idea was that no one could give you a hard time for taking gleanings. And you almost feel like you're part of the kotzrim. That's what Boaz did for Ruth. He says, oh, look, we're reaping and you're reaping. You're reaping as a poor person, I'm reaping as the owner. But we're all reaping and you're part of the same team. So it's almost like workfare, where the person has a certain dignity because of the way they do it. If you look at shlomim, the sacrifice that a person brings to the Beis Hamikdash, let's say for a todah, for a Thanksgiving offering, or on the holidays, you come, you offer, let's say, a cow. Now, how much meat can one family eat? Can you eat a cow? No. I know some people complain that they have so much meat, it's almost like a cow, but a cow is a lot of meat. So, if you slaughtered a cow and you brought it as a shlomim for the family, or even a sheep, there's a lot of meat in a sheep, then surely you have left over. And therefore, structurally, it's set up that you gladly give to the ger, the yasam and the convert, the stranger, the orphan, the widow, the Levi who doesn't have land. It's just natural. And you wouldn't feel bad about giving it to him because nothing you can do with it. It has to be eaten in a day and a half. You can't freeze it. You can't put it in the cellar. You have to eat it in 2 days and 1 night, whatever the limit is. And therefore, you know that you have to share it with the others. Meiser Sheni is wonderful. Every few years, every 3 years, you give straight out 1/10 goes to the poor. That's a little more embarrassing. But otherwise, you what do? Meiser Sheni, you set aside 1/10 after you take the first tithe, and then you bring it to Jerusalem. Now, if you 1/10 of your produce, 9%, whatever, of your produce, you're bringing it to Jerusalem. You can't eat all that stuff. If you bring all your grapes, you can't eat all those grapes. If you bring the equivalent of the value of all the grapes that you harvested throughout the year, 9% of that, it's going to be a lot of money. So structurally, you're going to have to share it with the ger, yasam, and almana, with the widow, the orphan, the poor, and you're going to do that, and you're going to do it gladly. The similar notion comes to kibud aveim, honoring parents. You can't provide for the parents. Oh, I let them in the door. I fed them. I I paid for their old age home. And then you walk in there and you say, I can't believe I have to show up here and take care of you every day. You can't say mean stuff. It says in the Gemara in Kiddushin Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, he says, Yesh Machel, Rabbi Abba said, one of the great rabbis in Israel, Yesh Machel Aviv Fisyoni, V'tordu min olam. There are some people who serve pheasant to their father. The father's getting old, he lost his money, he didn't have a pension, and the son is wealthy and he can afford pheasant, so he gives him pheasant. And you have to find out the shochet who knows how to shechta, who has a tradition that pheasant is kosher. And he gives him the pheasant, but he gives it to him with a panim zoafos, with a sad and angry face, with a frown. Then God is not gonna be happy with him in this world. But someone else could give his father what? He says, Yesh matzuyach b'reichayim. Sometimes you give your father a job that he needs to do because you don't want him to have a really bad job, so you give him this job. So sometimes you give your father a job, and it's wonderful, and it's a terrific thing. So it's not about what you do for your father; it's about how you do it and what your intent is and how it works out. The Torah is saying is that as much as it's important to give charity, to give the alms, it's how you do it that's so important. A mashulach comes to the door, and you give him $5, you give him $25, you give him $100, whatever you give him. But it's so important that you also give him a smile, give him a piece of chocolate cake, give him a drink of water. Say, oh, it's so nice to see you. Say, look, it's not my yeshiva. Even if you don't want to give that much, it's not. I have a different cause. I have something else. I already gave, but it's so nice to see you. I appreciate Tizkol mitzvos. You give them encouragement. So where did the Rambam get the idea that it's how you give it that's most important? Well, Rabbi Abba said it. Where did Rabbi Abba get the idea that it's how you give to your father that's most important? The answer is that the Torah, through the Leket Shicha Umpeah, through the gleanings, and the way it's structured and the way you see it exemplified in the Book of Ruth, shows you how charity must be given. It's meant to be built into the structure of Jewish life. It's not some isolated incident where you embarrass the poor person by giving to him, but it's set up structurally so that the poor person is not embarrassed, that it's part of natural farming life. That's the way we hope that our charity today will continue to be in that spirit, the spirit of my brother is my brother, I need to help him, he's part of my family. As such, I'll share with him, and he'll feel that it's natural. It's natural that someone in the family showed up for lunch, and not only did I have lunch, but I shared lunch with him as well. Thank you for joining us here at the Baron Hirsch Congregation for a discussion of the Parsha. Join us each week for a discussion of the holidays, Parsha, and thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.